Bonjour Penguins and welcome to Pat Peng's Cast, the show that dives you into the world as I see it. I'm Patrick, your host, and today is part 3 of the episode, Pardon My Expectations. My 5 international guests that you already know now for sure are still revealing what really happens when the City of Lights meets real life. Today's topics are expectations versus reality on accommodation in Paris, as well as the habits of Parisians in the city. Stay tuned. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Let's hit that topic again, but I just wanted to remind you that I'm surrounded by 2 guests on a video conference who have visited Paris as tourists. Natasha, live from the United States, and Hussein, live from Lebanon. And I'm also surrounded by 3 guests currently living in Paris. Jonas, originally from Sweden, Teresa, originally from the United States, and Geoff, originally from Lorraine in France. Now let's go back to our topic. Accommodations in Paris. How does it look like to find a place to live when you first arrived to Paris? Did you think it was easy, and what was the reality? And also for hotels when you come and visit, what do you think? For example, Teresa, because I see that you're making a face. Oh my God!
I just looked at my Instagram yesterday to kind of refresh my how long have I been here? What have I gone through? Before this podcast. And 10 years ago, I was listening to music under a bridge, ready to live underneath a bridge, because it was so complicated to find an apartment. So I came with a job, so I had a work contract. But to get a bank account, you need an address. But to have an address, you need a bank account. And so you're in this vicious circle, trying to find somebody who's willing to take cash or a check or something for a down payment on an apartment. You need to have a guarantor. But if you don't know anybody in France, you don't have a French guarantor. And at the time, it was really hard to have the state guarantee you for the apartment. And landlords here prefer to have somebody who has French guarantors who make a lot of money, at least 3 times the rent.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the rule. 3 times the rent.
3 times the rent.
Your salary has to be 3 times the rent, and we all know how expensive Paris is.
And so they would prefer somebody who has rich parents, for example. So it's if you have a first job and you're making 3 times the rent, they would prefer a student who has 2 parents who make 3 times the rent, because if you don't stay in your job, how can they be sure that you're going to continue to pay? But if you're a student and you have 2 guarantors who make 3 times the rent, there's always going to be somebody to pay, right? So it's just a very complicated situation to find apartments. And then you end up in very shady situations, you know what I mean? Paying people only in cash, or they ask you to pay a whole year up front, which is illegal, but you don't have any other options. And so you take it. Or you end up in very bizarre roommate situations where your roommate wants you to be naked all day. You know what I mean? Who's a naturiste or something. You know what I mean? And you're willing to take it because you're it's either that or under the bridge. You know what I mean?
With the rats.
Exactly, with the rats. But it's at least the rats will let me keep my clothes on, So, it's very complicated. It's the City of Lights. Ooh la la, Emily in Paris.
It's so romantic, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also, Emily is not living in a chambre de bonne. She's living in a beautiful apartment in the 5th. I used to live around there. She's not struggling.
No, she's not struggling.
Didn't she get that with her job? Wasn't that the job set up that apartment?
Yeah, but they made it seem like it was a horrible apartment, but it was actually really nice.
In the first episode,
it looks nice
they said,
to me.
Yeah, well, the first episode they said it's a chambre de bonne.
And I was honey, that's not a chambre de bonne.
And a chambre de bonne is literally a very tiny little apartment with pretty much probably not even a window in it. So
exactly.
So it's not. It's really not. It's a good apartment.
It was 11 square meters. That's a chambre de bonne.
Wow.
Yeah, 11 square meters is 100 square feet. 100 square feet is about it.
My first apartment was 7 square meters. Illegal, but if the ceiling is high, they can kind of play with it because the ceiling was high, but I was living in 7 square meters. And I paid $400
That's kind of
in cash.
In New York City, you hear about that too, people renting closets basically, or and it's
No, but 7 square meters is not even a place to put a bed.
Yeah, there was a bed, a door, a plaque, and a shower.
So you had everything within reach. You just stay on your bed, and then you can do everything from your bed.
Mm-hmm. And I had one window that looked into somebody else's window.
That was the thing I noticed on my whole Europe trip. Like every next stop was a smaller, like the hotel rooms got smaller and smaller. It was kind of a
Even the hotels, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like I think our hotel in Paris was literally like I could, if I was laying on the bed and just put my leg over to the side, it was like in the bathroom. Like
Yeah, like I didn't even have a bathroom in my first place. The toilet is on the floor. It's like you share the toilets with other people.
Like you get out of your apartment.
You get out of your apartment, and you got to make sure you don't lock yourself out of the apartment, like in your pajamas at like 1 a.m. trying to go to the bathroom. You know,
that's kind of more like a dorm situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dorm, but like on the 7th floor, walk up.
Elevator, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Beautiful.
Did anybody else have to like live this situation over here, Teresa's situation, or we all got lucky? I think we all got lucky compared to you.
Was that hard? Was it maybe harder for her because she was coming from, like she wasn't
and like
already there? Yeah, like.
What was really hard for you? It must be.
Well, it's like, I mean, I don't come from a lot of money. I don't have anybody who has a lot of money. But still, even if you have money in America, like I had friends who had parents who gained a decent amount in America, but because you weren't French and you didn't have French guarantor, it just was not.
Yeah, right.
It just wasn't going to be possible because it's an insurance, right? It's like, well, what happens if you don't pay? You know what I mean?
Yep. And the rules in France are so not covering the owner. So that's why the owner covers himself, because the rules do not cover him. Because, for example, let's consider that the people who are renting your place stop paying the rent. It's going to be hell in order to remove them from the apartment. You will have to go to trial, and you'll have to like wait for years in order to prove that the people have to be ejected. And actually during that time, the people are staying in your apartment, they are living without paying rent, and you're paying your mortgage to the bank, and you cannot do anything about it. So that's why they take a lot of precautions.
Like squatters, right?
Yeah, like squatters. They become squatters because they start by paying, but then after
I like don't feel bad for these landlords. I like don't feel bad. Well, like I will say that I don't feel bad for them. I'm like cry your crocodile tears, but like we're literally out here like living in closets or not even being able to find apartments or going into really scary like unsafe situations just to be able to have a place to stay. And that's coming with a job. Like I came working for the Ministère de l'Éducation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So how is it that you can work in schools, but then like you have no place to stay? You know what I mean?
Or not a decent.
That sounds more like an American thing to do. Like that.
Right? Yeah. To like not offer housing. Right. So I mean, it's interesting, Paris.
Yeah, great.
And a lot of times you don't feel bad for the landlords, but I'm sure this happens all over. But you'll also have landlords say like, yeah, but the last renter I had let their cat pee everywhere, or they are just super messy, or you know what I mean? Like sometimes people just don't take care of the place either. So
right.
It's kind of, you know.
Yep. Geoff, in the beginning, you talked about the fact that when you first arrived to Paris, you selected that neighborhood in order to live. Yeah. And then it wasn't the neighborhood you wanted to, but it was because you were able to afford this apartment in that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, I was living in Paris, but just near the Périphérique, Boulevard Périphérique. It's very, very, very noisy.
Okay.
Especially in summer when you want to open the door. But, I was lucky because my parents are French and they can guarantee my location. So I had not a lot of issue to build file. Although it's even with a good file, it's still a battle because people have files everywhere. And a good flat usually don't stay on the market. Not a lot of time. I read a study, flat that have a good price point for the quality and stuff like that usually stay on the market like 5 minutes.
Oh.
It's almost definitely not long enough. So usually it's bouche à oreille and stuff like that. I got lucky. I was going with an agency and they got heard of something and I was the first to visit it. It was not even listed in the agency. And
sometimes this is the only way in order to find the right apartment is by chance, because you talk to somebody and you play it by ear, and then just even before the apartment is being listed, that's what you're trying to say. You get the information, you visit, and then you position yourself right away.
Exactly. So I got really lucky. I visited 2 or 3 stuff before this one. And I had no idea about the different area of Paris. Mm-hmm. And I was in love with a flat that was just near the Salle de Shoot in Gare du Nord. which I had no idea what it was. And I was calling my mom and said, I visit this flat. It's awesome. The neighborhood is quite nice. I love it. And she said, maybe you should double check. I'm not sure about it. So you need to, I think it's luck, and you have no idea where you're going to end up. So first years you usually move a lot because you start to find
You're
where
playing a guitar with your microphone.
I'm terrible at it. But anyway, you find where you want to live, and it's
Well, I was actually living in Egypt before arriving here. So I couldn't really visit all the apartments I was finding on the internet. And then all of a sudden I was visiting Paris just to spend some time with my family. One of my friends, she had just bought her apartment with this agency. And the guy, the real estate agent, was at her place at that time. So I told him really it was really by luck that I'm moving here. And then he said, oh, I just got this apartment this morning. And it's obviously not even listed. So I visited it the same day, and I came back 4 months later to sign, and I purchased it right away, and was really a good one. So yeah, it's really luck. I think it's either luck or you have everything figured out because you have the opportunity to provide the guarantees. But since the majority of the people do not have these,
and the other thing is the
becomes
scams, right? The scams, like there's a lot of scamming. Like I've never seen so much scamming. Like before I came here, like I was like, oh, I can look for apartments beforehand. People will ask you like, oh, you need to do a transfer, a Western Union, or like something like that, and you think it's normal.
Yeah.
I've went to visit apartments here, and then I was like, oh, I found an apartment. I need to find a roommate. And then a girl messages me and she's like, is this the apartment that you looked at? I said, yes. She said, do not give this woman any money. I gave her a down payment. She gave me the keys. I went to the door. The keys did not open the door. No. She had showed her an Airbnb. Okay. She had showed her an Airbnb, took her money, and then disappeared.
That is crazy.
Oh, no.
People will show you false identity. Yeah. Like it's always like that.
I had a friend who was trying to rent an apartment in the Minneapolis area, and he got kind of scammed because it was all like over over the internet and over the phone before he moved there.
Yeah. I've had lots of friends who've been scammed. They put money into at La Poste. You can put money like so that the landlord can see that you have the money, but they can't touch it yet because it's like in between both parties, right? While you're waiting to like sign contracts. They made a fake La Poste website and sent her an email asking for the code. And it looked just like the La Poste website, just to confirm that she wanted to keep using it. She went to get the money back out when it didn't work out. When she realized it was a scam, they had taken her money. 2,000, a little over 2,000 euros.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow.
The scams.
Also, I think when you, apart from the scams, like you mentioned, there's also like you're expecting something based on what you see in the pictures, and like, but then when visit some apartments which were just like amazing, but then they would get taken like even before you got there. They literally tell you once you arrive that sorry, it's already taken. Okay, why didn't you call me to?
Right.
No. But then you had these other surprises where we're like, does this actually exist? I visited one apartment where when I stood up in the kitchen, my head I couldn't stand up in the kitchen. I would hit the ceiling, right? And another one where the toilet was like literally next to the bed. And it wasn't like a real toilet. It was this kind of WC broyeur. I don't know how you say that in English, like something that kind of grinds your poop. Well, kind of, anyway.
Like a compost toilet or something?
Patrick, do you know how to...
I have no idea. And I'm happy and I'm glad that I have no idea.
And I was kind of, asking the agent as well, like, how do you expect people to... do people actually live here at the moment? Like, yeah, there's a couple living here. Okay. Apparently. So,
I suppose it was still better than under the bridge with the rats.
Still better than under the bridge,
You're focusing on under the bridge with the rats, Tasha, for some reason. It's like it's becoming your chum.
And people are willing to take whatever because you're like, anything is better than being on the street.
Right.
I agree.
Desperate times.
Last but not least on this topic, let's talk about which thing really shocks you the most when it comes to the habits of Parisians. Let's say, for example, at work compared to where you're coming from. Jonas, do you have something to say about the topic?
What kind of struck me also as someone coming from abroad was that, the fact that, French people, I don't think it's specifically Parisians, but probably it's part of, French culture. They really value the lunch break and really, enjoying food among colleagues. In Sweden, for instance, we will just get something pretty quickly and then once you get served, you start eating. Whereas here it's more like a ceremony. Everyone gets their food. You wait for everyone to get seated, and then you say bon appetit. You start eating, and you really kind of enjoy the moment of having lunch. And people will like also pay attention, show interest in what are you having today. Talking about really, oh, you got that kind of dessert, I got this one, and then people will talk about what did they have for dinner last night, and like so I find food is really kind of a central has a very central place in the discussions overall, actually, and that's also why they.
Did you like it? Do you prefer this model than the model you were used to?
Well, at first, I kind of, how can I say, kind of disrupted my work flow because when you're maybe focused on getting something done, and because it also requires you to take a longer lunch break, so it kind of disconnects you from whatever you're doing.
True.
But then with time, I also realized the benefit, and it's quite good to get this kind of a break in the middle of the day, and it also creates social bonds with the people. And
Hussein, I see you're agreeing with what Jonas is saying.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, definitely. I want to add to what Jonas is saying is that the thing is, I've worked with the two schools in business. I've worked with the French school and the American school. To start, first of all, with the French school, because I used to work, my first job was at Sanofi. Sanofi is a multinational pharmaceutical company. I was working in the office here in Beirut, but definitely everything, because I was working with the big team, the global team, the supply chain department. So we used to have lots of contacts, definitely. I totally agree with you, Jürgen, because they really appreciate and they really value the time of the break, because whatever we need to eat, we need to eat. It's the time to stop the work and really to stop and to take our break. But what I personally was obliged to deal with is that the difference between the French and the, I don't want to say the Parisian, but I'm just talking French in general. The French school actually is they abide by the rules. Like, for example, in case of any deviation that happened at work, it's a big chaos. We need to inform this and that department, etc. Whereas in the case when I started working with the American school of business, if you want, it's definitely we abide by the rules, but it's less stressful and it's less impact when it comes to psychological state. You know what I mean? Personally, I had the mission when I was working at Alexion, which is an American company. I had one of my tasks to manage the French team. I used always to tell them, guys, it's okay. You can do this. You can do that. You can skip this. Whenever I used to tell them, guys, you can skip this or that, it was a big chaos. C'était un grand problème. For them, no, we cannot do this. You must report this. It's deviation. We must record it, blah, blah, blah. It's just a waste of time. I was in contact with the general manager and I told him, come on, we will not be able to finish any job because, as you know, whenever we're dealing with rare medical diseases, it's a fast job. We cannot just take the time to report, to go and make useless meetings just to abide by the rules. When it comes to the American school, it's a bit different. It's a bit more easier.
Yeah, flexible.
And we know whenever flexible, and we know when to stop the job to report deviations and when not to stop the job.
I noticed also another point, which is quite different for me, is that people, I would say, in a work environment, they can be very kind of argumentative. If there's something you disagree with, people really speak their opinion, and doesn't really, like, someone might get offended, but they don't really take it personally because it's business, and you just you're focused on what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, which also means that sometimes people end up not even getting along or getting into an agreement because it's so it's about debating and your opinion, you're not going to just give it away,
right?
Just for the sake of it. So it can get, and what's also struck me, I think, at first, is that people could, you would get into kind of heated discussions and arguments, and you were like, okay, these people are clearly not getting along, and then pretty messed up situation. But then when it's time for the break, people gather, and then they're back to normal, because that was just work, and it's we were disagreeing, but it's not personal, and now we still get along, we still like each other, but so this is something that I find kind of different.
I have a question about when you were mentioning lunch is always kind of like a big social thing.
It is.
So is it not as common to like bring your lunch?
No,
like in America. Oh, okay.
Well, it depends on the company also, because if the company doesn't provide a restaurant, you'll definitely have to bring your own lunch. But what is important to know is that the people would actually eat that lunch together. They would gather in a room, and then they would have lunch together. So whether you have the restaurant or not, the idea of what we're saying thing is that people would like at least gather together and have lunch together and have like a proper lunch break together. Now, if the restaurant is there, then it's a plus because you don't have to cook. And since I don't cook, it's great for me because I can just go and eat there. But
And when you say restaurant, do you mean more like a cafeteria or it's literally like a restaurant?
what do you mean by cafeteria?
It's paid for. So it's like usually it's a cafeteria where there's lots of options that's subsidized by
the company.
Right?
It's a restaurant. It's a restaurant provided by the company within the premises of the company. You don't go out of the building of the company and then just
So like a cafeteria.
Yeah, it's just like a cafeteria, but we say in French it's cantine, and we separate it from the cafeteria because the cafeteria is literally the place where you go have coffee, and the cantine is what we call the restaurant de l'entreprise, or if I translate it, is the company's restaurant. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So that's the place where people go and eat together. And yeah,
So you guys wouldn't just bring like a turkey sandwich to lunch for work?
I mean, some people bring their lunch to work.
They literally cook.
You can, but people
They
might
know what to do. I don't know what to do. Turkey sandwich.
Some people do cook. I mean, especially if you have ticket resto, which is subsidized portion of your salary and a portion of the company pays for your ticket resto.
Right.
And if you're really trying to save money, you could bring your turkey sandwich and then you can have your ticket resto and you can use it to buy groceries. So it goes a little bit further, at the grocery store than it would in the cafeteria, right? So I mean,
because here it's it would be spendy to go out to lunch every day. A lot of people here do.
Yeah, but it's subsidized, right?
It's subsidized. It's subsidized. So usually, for example, in my situation, if I want to have a starter, a main dish, and a dessert, it would be around 4 to 5 euros, which is okay.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, which is around
Really?
$6. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow!
This coffee was $6.
Yeah. See, so really, it's okay because the price of the thing is probably double or more, but it's subsidized by the company.
Right,
So
that
either
makes
there's that, or there's the ticket resto, what Teresa was saying, which is that they give you some sort of papers, a check, vouchers at the beginning of the year that you can use throughout the year in order to either eat in restaurants or probably use it to buy groceries and eat at home if you're working from home. So yeah, we have both options. And when I was living in the US, I was in Brookings in South Dakota, and we were building this cheese factory over there, and we were kind of like a French team, a French engineering team. And we were all very keen to preserve our habits, French habits of eating together, having coffee together, having lunch together. So we would we built the factory in a way that we have a cafeteria, like a very huge cafeteria that is in the center of the administrative building, which wasn't really common, in the US.
Well, we have break rooms and stuff.
Yeah, but that was really literally one of the most important rooms in the factory, and we made sure of that. And we were actually inviting Americans, we were insisting on having them with us in order, to have lunch together. And by the end of not by the end, even 2 or 3 months later than after we arrived, we felt like they were getting along very well with the new habit, and they actually liked it, and they were doing it even afterwards. They were doing it by themselves even when we were not here. So they got to appreciate the habit. So it's
the quirky. I think they would call you guys the quirky foreigners. Those.
Yeah.
They were they always wanted us to eat lunch together. You know what I mean? It's it's so cute.
Yeah, because a lot of Americans just eat at their desk or
and I feel
eat in front of the TV or
sad.
Watch a show or something.
It's sad. Yeah. I don't know. I feel it's sad.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's when it's nice out, I'll go eat in my car to be outside. I don't know. Is that weird?
Guys, I didn't hear anyone talking about delivery. You're not using your cultures to delivery?
Can you? Can you use the vouchers, the ticket resto for delivery?
Yes, you can use it on at least on Uber Eats. You can use it, but it's expensive. It's because your voucher isn't a lot, so Uber Eats can be very expensive, right?
Yeah.
So and if you don't have a long
Delivery
lunch break, waiting on it, it's kind of can be. People usually just go around where they work.
Yeah. So you can use the vouchers for delivery, but I mean it's not that you're gonna deliver every day, because in France delivery is not something that is as common as in Lebanon or Dubai or even in the US. In France, delivery is already, actually a kind of a new concept that was really developed with COVID, because before that we had, but it wasn't really common. Now it's becoming a bit more common, but still it's very far away.
Even
from
in America, delivery was mostly for pizza or Chinese food, but then COVID was like everything could get
now
delivered
it's everything.
after that.
Yeah, but in Lebanon you can definitely literally get anything delivered at any time during the day or night. So I can understand your question, Hussein, because I know. Joff, do you have anything to add on this?
For me, this is very basic, common. It didn't shock me at all. It's the French culture.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's more of a French culture in general.
It's a process. It's the process. It's process that starts so young, right? Because I also work with kids, right? So it's the cantine. Yeah. I mean, because from the youngest age, they're in the cantine, in the cafeteria. You know what I mean? Like sharing this meal. You know what I mean? And it starts so young, and they're so used to it, and then it just continues, right? I feel like the French love a good process, right? Like, this is how it is. This is how you eat. Like, this is how you do everything. You know what I mean? There's a French process. And that's why I think that they struggle sometimes when you want to do the American style, which is kind of like, we can skip this process or we can do this a different way. And they freak out. They're like, no.
Yeah, we want to do it this way.
It has to be like this. Like, if it doesn't happen like this, then it's like the end of the world.
Yeah, right. The famous
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because in America, we did have, lunchtime with everybody. But then as we get older, we get more like solo. Like, we do a lot more stuff, or maybe you don't like a lot of your coworkers, so you'd rather just take your lunch break to have some me time, get away from them.
But even in high school, you had 30 minutes to eat. It was very quick. You know what I mean?
It wasn't very long.
It was quick. A lot of times when you were older, you would go off campus to eat. You know what I mean? You weren't even there. You know what I mean? At lunchtime or whatever.
Yeah.
Versus here, I feel like it's very entrée plat dessert.
It's true, because I worked in Ireland for a while in a multicultural company, and the French people, when I arrived, they already were a team of French people, and they were not mixing up with the Irish guys and the other guys. So I refused to go in the French team in order to make my own opinion on how it was to work abroad. And I remember what was shocking for me is I lived in a shared house, and the fridge was open all day. It was you come and you pick up and you eat all day long. You always snacks along the day, and you had no proper meal time. So that was a real shock when I worked there and I lived there, because for me, you have the petit déjeuner, you have the déjeuner, you have the dinner. Maybe you have the goûter. Very important, the goûter.
In the middle of the day.
Right. And then you have the dinner, but you don't, you can snack, but it's not a habit to have your food spread around the day and whenever you want,
right?
And not sync with each other
with the day. Exactly.
Right, we have a perfect exact timings. I mean, perfect timings during the day where we eat, have breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And it's horrible when you try to go to a restaurant here and you're like, oh, I'm hungry, and it's 2:30.
You can't.
It's not possible.
No, it's not possible.
And you're like, I'm gonna die from hunger. You're you eat something simple like a Domino's pizza. I'm like, babe, Domino's pizza should be available all day, but no. From 2:30 to 6 o'clock.
Nobody.
You can go to McDonald's.
Yeah, just McDonald's.
The only day where they were eating all together was the Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
Sunday dinner is a thing.
That's the only moment during the week where.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of religious, no? Is that what I mean?
Sometimes Friday.
I think it probably started that way, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I think we've covered the topics related to your expectations versus the reality, unless somebody else wants to add something. But
can I ask one more quick question about?
Yep, sure.
Okay, and going back to the no air conditioning and the windows being open, in a lot of European countries too, you don't have screens. Are you not worried about bugs getting in?
Oh, I bought a screen, but it's a mobile one.
Okay.
But yeah,
because a lot of the hotels we were in didn't have a screen, and I thought that was weird.
They don't. It's not really common. And that's something I'm missing as well, because in Lebanon we have these screens pretty much everywhere because of mosquitoes and things like that. But it's really not common here for some reason. I have no idea. Well, I have to ask the French guy here.
It's more and more common.
Yeah.
Especially, we have a whole discussion about it as well in our in our chat group for the building.
Your building is exciting. I really
Very modern.
Getting screens.
And why? It's because there's a lot of Paris is a city that, especially outside, there's a lot of construction area, and construction area make a pool of water where the bed bugs can spread around. So there's a lot of bugs, especially mosquito in the summer, and it's actually quite a huge problem, especially in the construction area. So my place is in the middle of it's construction from everywhere. So it's quite disgusted because the bugs are huge. So the option are, you can equip your window with a thing that slides, or you can just have some install guy that comes and just fix something that you cannot open. They don't like this option. I don't like it either because I will feel trapped in my apartment. But this is the easy option. But it's getting discussed, and there's a lot of opinions. So I guess it's getting there. About
Most
this.
screens can be popped out pretty easy, though. It's not like a window, or you know what I mean. Like it's
then you have to put it back. I don't know. It's still discussed, and we stopped the discussion because the mosquito went away because of the cold.
Because it's cold.
Right?
In the springtime.
It will come back.
It will come back. It will come back. But look here, I have this. Here is like, as you can see here, I have like scratch
Velcro
around the window here. I have something that is sticked to the window, and then the net actually comes and with a scratch, some sort of Velcro. Yeah, I can just stick it around the bay window here, and then it actually stay there. I can remove it. I can put it. I remove it in winter, obviously, and I put it in summer. But it's ugly because you can see it. Yeah, so it's, if you're looking at something beautiful, it has to be built in. This is not built in.
You guys are so worried about things staying pretty there.
Yeah, it has to.
You can accept to live it under any conditions, just as long as it's pretty,
Just be miserable in your flat, as long as it's
It'll be beautiful, exactly.
So it's okay.
That's true. So this marks the end of part 3. So the upcoming episode is the final episode of this saga, the last but not least episode 10, part 4 of Pardon My Expectations. Don't forget to follow the podcast on the platform you're listening from and activate the notifications, whether you're on Anghami, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Deezer, Spotify, and YouTube. To catch on the other episodes, the previous ones, go to my website, patricksayek.com/badbankscast, and you'll find all the information over there. See you in a few days, Pengies!